A recent report by the World Health Organization, or WHO, says in addition to routine treatment, the results from the studies of traditional Chinese medicine, or TCMs, suggest that on the basis of clinically relevant outcome measures, the studied TCMs are beneficial in the treatment of COVID-19, particularly in mild to moderate cases. The report added that data suggests that traditional Chinese medicine is both safe and beneficial when combined with conventional antiviral medicine, and that more analysis and trials be conducted. How does TCM treat COVID exactly? What sets it apart from other medicine, and is it catching on with people outside of China? I'm pleased to be joined both in Hong Kong by Dr. Serena Wang, a registered Chinese medicine practitioner and dermatologist, and Professor Chung Kyo Lam, Associate Professor at the School of Chinese Medicine from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The warmest welcome to both of you. Dr. Wen, let me go to you first. You've been practicing TCM for more than 25 years. For people who are not very familiar with TCM, why is TCM different from traditional medicine, or what other people call Western medicine, when it comes to treating COVID-19?
Good morning, Liu Xing. I'm so happy to share with you and with so many audience from all over the world about Chinese medicine. So for Chinese medicine, in my own opinion, it is very different when compared with Western medicine. First of all, Chinese medicine, I can say something about Western medicine first, because Western medicine is something more scientific, okay, more science. But Chinese medicine, actually, it is not pure science. It is more complicated, including something about non-scientific thing, for example, like philosophy, talking about we have to consider the weather, and then some the history, and then the human psychological status. Everything is only can contribute to be part of Chinese medicine. So for the nature, they are different.
Professor Chen, how do you look at this analysis that there are things which we are not able to explain scientifically, at least by now, the effects of traditional Chinese medicine? Does it mean that it is something beyond science or non-scientific, or what is it about traditional Chinese medicine?
Thank you, Liu Xing. What we cannot prove it in scientifically may not showing that it's not scientific. What we are looking for, what we are focusing on, is the fact. So that's why we in researchers, we have real world data, real world study. So we look at what we are applying, what we are giving, and the feedback, and some cases report. And also we, as in some researchers, we have people reported outcome. So the people, after receiving some kind of treatment, they have responses. So which is whether it's good or it's bad. So in this pandemic, especially in Omicron, so like in Hong Kong, many people see there are millions of patients getting infected. So because of lack of some kind of resources, and many volunteer TCM practitioners in Hong Kong show their willingness to give help to patient and getting the herbs and getting the symptoms
but
relief.
How effective do we know by now in solid scientific terms or data that can show that the traditional Chinese medicine that's used in Hong Kong have been effective? Dr. Wen, what is your observation?
Actually, according to the Chinese medicine, actually the expert, okay, in China, they submitted recently to the WTO, and then a report about.
You mean WHO? The World Health Organization.
Yeah, WHO. So yes. Okay, sorry. So actually, it can show that more, the efficacy and the efficiency by using Chinese medicine to treat especially in the early stage for the COVID-19 patients, and then the result is very satisfactory. And then in Hong Kong here, and then in my own clinic, from my own experiences, and then I can see that by using the Chinese medicine for the prevention and then for the treatment, especially in the early stage, can be really, really successful, and then to prevent the the pandemic becomes serious case, and then my experience is that my patient here in Hong Kong, I think, and then less than 10%. They suffer from the Omicron when compared with the whole population in Hong Kong. So that's why, and none of them become a serious condition, and then by using the Chinese medicine. So I think this is the data, and then with the expert in China to support the report to the WHO, also show the very, very scientific data with the evidence-based way to express how good and how good of the efficacy for by using a more modern scientific way.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying from your personal experience, people who received TCM have less of a chance of developing grave symptoms from mild symptoms. Is that what you're saying, Dr. Wang?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. The WHO report
exactly.
says there are promising data to suggest that TCM is beneficial in reducing the risk of progression from mild to moderate cases to severe COVID-19. Yes. Professor Chung, exactly how does it work? I mean, how does the Chinese, how does TCM prevent a person infected with COVID-19 from getting more severe? What's the logic? How does it work?
I think the main point is tailor-made, because different patients getting infected may appear different symptoms. Some may be fever, some are sore throat, some constipation, and some have different kinds of problem. So the traditional Chinese medicine decide different points of treatment. For example, reduce heat or reduce cold.
But you have to produce a massive amount, right, Professor Chung? You cannot individually cater to every. So basically, you have a formula for everybody in this case.
No, we have. Let me give you an example. Like with free School of Chinese Medicine in Hong Kong, we have conducted massive or long distance consultation. We have different style. One is we make five standard formula for different major types of patient. So we mainly for people with certain characteristic, we can clarify in one type, so that we give them this type of formula.
I see.
And then now more than 30,000 of patients receiving the drugs and getting better result.
So it's from clinical results. That also seems to match some of the experiences that have been observed on the Chinese mainland. For instance, for the city of Yangzhou, which is close to my hometown, out of some 6,000 people, those who got TCM intervention enjoy 50% less chance of turning positive than those who didn't. And Dr. Wan, is that similar? Is that, you know, the kind of data that people are not aware yet?
Oh yes, I think like in Hong Kong, in fact, the situation in Hong Kong is that I think the government, for example, like in the since the start of the pandemic, I think they didn't include the Chinese medicine in a very progressive way to using Chinese medicine until the Omicron become very serious early this year, in the past 2 months. So and then the Hong Kong government start to, with the help and suggestion of the central government, they start to adopt Chinese medicine with the experts' help from Guangzhou or from other, or Professor Tong Xiaolin, and then they bring the whole supporting team to Hong Kong, and then I think the result for using the Chinese medicine in a massive way, it is very, very obvious with the good result.
I have to challenge you.
In Hong Kong now,
I have to challenge you a bit there, because the casualty in Hong Kong is very high. For instance, it's over 8,000 new deaths since the beginning of this year. Are you saying that basically if traditional Chinese medicine had not been used to help treat the situation, there would have been more positive cases and possibly more deaths?
Yes. Actually, I think it's a pity to know the number and then so high with the so many people, especially the elderly people. So that's why I think for me, we feel very, very shocked and then we feel very pity. So actually, my personal opinion is that if we can use Chinese medicine earlier, for example, in the last 2 years, in the early stage, especially Chinese medicine is very, very good in the early stage for the prevention, or can prevent.
What about for the 80-year and above? Because these are the largest group of people who have perished, unfortunately, because of the virus. For the elderly people, Dr. Wang.
Yes. Yeah, so that's why I think many of them, according to my understanding, they have many other chronic diseases also. So not only Omicron is the one to make them suffer from this kind of a tragedy. So that's why I think for the maintenance, for the prevention, Chinese medicine, okay, can be playing a very important role to prevent many casualties.
Let me provide
yes,
some information. You mentioned about the casualties high in Hong Kong. So, you know, at the peak of the fifth wave,
yes,
every day, 50,000 of patients getting infected. So, and total is more than millions of patients. So, the reality is different party like University School of Chinese Medicine and also other associations in Hong Kong, they voluntarily do a lot of voluntary work to make some long distance consultation. But no matter how hard we work from day to night or overnight, so even we can do is just 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. So, but compared with the high infected number, we cannot trace. So the reason of that is because the use of TCM is not at the beginning, not getting very immediately going deep. So we cannot reach the patient.
I see. The WHO report also said this, which is also interesting because it says the evidence on the benefit of TCM injection for severe cases or TCM use for severe cases is limited and further evaluation is critically needed. Dr. Wang, what is your observation? What do we know, what do we not know about using TCM potentially for severe cases?
Actually, I have done some researches over the past 2 years about the pandemic in Hong Kong and about the pandemic, the history of pandemic in China. So to find out, see anything I can do, and then to help to improve at least to help my patients and help other people to find, according to some characteristics to make. Of course, just like Professor Chen said that no matter how hard every Chinese medicine doctor they do. I think they cannot do something one-to-one basis even online. So that's why, according to the history, because normally everything, what is called a pandemic. Pandemic means that at that time and that particular time, in that particular weather, or people can have some kind of common characteristics for certain things. So that's why we can tailor-make something to capture or to treat at least 80% of this kind of common characteristics. So that's why I think can, for example,
we
the
might not have
China,
time.
They have the
we might not have time to expand. Dr. Wang, sorry so much. Sorry very much to interrupt you here, but we have to leave it there. Yeah, we will keep talking about it, I promise you, because this is extremely important. And we didn't have time to talk about the soft power factor, because some people are saying by promoting traditional Chinese medicine, China is trying to gain soft power. I think that's we have time for that next time. But many thanks to Professor Chung Kyo Lam, Associate Professor at the School of Chinese Medicine from the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and Dr. Serena Wen, a registered Chinese medicine practitioner also in Hong Kong.